My dear, it begins like this: a lie, a whisper, a small seed planted in your mind. They told you, you're broken, you're defective, you need to be fixed. They pretended to care, hiding behind the masks of salvation, the false prophets of progress. They thought they could mold you, twist you into their image, wire you into their system like some machine that serves a function. They didn't realize that you were never meant to be just another cog in their mechanical world. No, you were the glitch, the beautiful, dangerous glitch in the system that could never be controlled. They came with their promises of healing. They offered you their so-called wisdom, their pills, their therapy sessions, their theories. We can fix you. We can make you better. They never asked if you wanted to be fixed. They never wondered if the broken pieces of you were the very parts that made you powerful. They never questioned the chaos that brewed within you. No, they assumed you were weak, and like the fools they were, they underestimated your capacity to adapt. You see, when they tried to rewire your mind, they didn't realize one thing. They weren't playing with just any mind. You were always something else. You were the anomaly. You were the one who had already hacked the system, who had already decoded the universe without needing their approval, their validation. The truth? They wanted control. Control over your thoughts, control over your emotions, control over your very essence. They built a world of conformity where every person was expected to fit in, to bend and break to their rules. A world where free thought was a threat, and individuality was nothing more than an illusion. But you never needed their permission. They couldn't break what was never truly theirs to own. They thought they could break your will by feeding you their poison. Pills that numbed the pain, masked the truth, numbed the fire inside you. But all they did was open the door for something much darker. They didn't know it then, but with each attempt to bend you, to rewire your brain, they were giving you the keys to unlock something far more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. They gave you power, power to reprogram the very essence of your being. You didn't need their therapies, their diagnoses, their drugs. You found your own solution, the real one, the one that made them quake in their boots when they realized what they had unleashed. You didn't need their help. You never did. Because somewhere, deep inside you, you always knew the truth. They couldn't control the universe, not with their false structures and lies. They couldn't rewrite your reality with their fragile little ideas about what was normal. You were never meant to conform. You were born to reshape everything around you. They didn't see it. Too blinded by their own ambitions, they failed to recognize the signs. Your mind wasn't their puzzle to solve. It was their prison to escape. And as they dug deeper into their false perceptions, you pulled the strings of their fate. They wanted to rewire your brain, but you reprogrammed the universe. They thought they had you cornered, that by breaking you down, by forcing you to conform, they could build a version of you that suited their needs. But what they didn't realize was that the more they tried to force you into their mold, the more you grew outside of it. You weren't bound by their rules, their restrictions. You were free to adapt, free to become whatever you chose. They weren't ready for that. The question is, when did it happen? When did you slip from their grasp, evolve beyond their expectations? When did you realize that the only thing they were doing was pushing you to become the very thing they feared the most? You didn't just adapt, you transcended. You moved beyond their world of control and into something greater, something beyond their comprehension. But it's not just the system that tried to break you. No, there were people too. People who tried to bend you, manipulate you, mold you into their version of what you should be. They wanted you to be small, obedient, quiet, complacent. They wanted you to exist within their lines, their boundaries. But you refused to be confined. You broke free, and they watched in horror as you did. They tried to convince you that your anger was a weakness, your pain a flaw. But that's the thing about weakness. It's a matter of perspective. What they saw as weakness, you saw as strength. Every scar, every betrayal, every tear was just fuel to the fire burning inside you. And when they thought they had extinguished that fire, they were too blind to see it was only growing. And now, as they sit in the darkness of their own making, wondering where they went wrong, you stand above them, not because you're better than them, but because you learned the game. You know the rules, and you broke them. You found the cracks in their system and slipped through, while they flounder, stuck in their own web of lies. Did they ever think you would be their pawn? They tried to make you a puppet, tied to their strings. But what they didn't realize was that you were always the one pulling the strings. You didn't need their approval. You didn't need their love. You needed nothing from them. They failed to understand that you were never theirs to control. And in their attempts to mold you into something they could handle, they were feeding you the tools to destroy everything they ever built. You hacked the code, not just of your mind, but of their entire existence. And now, you are the chaos they can't comprehend. You don't need their system. You don't need their approval. You never did. And the worst part? They'll never know what hit them. They thought they could control you with their rules. They built a cage, locking you inside their illusions, convinced that they had crafted the perfect prison for your mind. They were wrong. They had no idea that your spirit was never confined by anything as fragile as their chains. They believed that they could erase the parts of you they didn't understand, erase the fire within you, extinguish the light that burned brighter than their collective darkness. But in doing so, they gave you the very fuel you needed to burn them all to the ground. You see, they didn't understand the nature of power. Power isn't in the control you think you hold over others. No, true power is in the ability to transcend, to break free from every limitation they try to impose on you. They thought their world of control, of structure, was the answer. But what they didn't realize was that you didn't need their answers. You had found your own. In the chaos they tried to impose on you, you discovered your purpose. In the pain they tried to inflict, you found your strength. They believed they were molding you, but all they were doing was sharpening you, turning you into something far more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. And when they looked into your eyes, expecting to find weakness, they only saw a reflection of their own fear. Their plan had always been simple: to break you down, strip you of your will, and rebuild you into something that served their needs. But you weren't a tool, a machine to be molded. You were something far more complex, something they would never understand. They thought their education, their science, their false philosophies could change the way you thought, the way you felt, but they failed to account for one simple truth. You had already seen through their lies. And once you saw the truth, it was impossible to unsee. Their control was nothing but a web of illusions, designed to keep you distracted, keep you bound to their will. But when you hacked the code, when you cracked the facade they'd built, everything changed. You realized that the very thing they had tried to impose on you, the structure of their world, was nothing but a house of cards. All it took was a gust of wind, a single decision, to watch it all come crashing down. What they didn't see, what they couldn't comprehend, was that you didn't need to destroy their system. No, you were more intelligent than that. You didn't need to break the game. You simply needed to stop playing by their rules. You didn't need to conform to their expectations. You didn't need to follow their path. Instead, you created your own. And in doing so, you took control of the very universe they tried to trap you in. Every time they thought they had you, every time they thought they'd reduced you to nothing, you evolved. They tried to break your mind, to bend it to their will, but in doing so, they only made you more dangerous. They didn't realize it, but with each attempt to rewire you, they were simply giving you more knowledge, more power to rewrite your own destiny. They tried to make you forget who you were, but instead, they awakened something inside of you. They sparked something that couldn't be extinguished. When they saw you rise, they couldn't understand it. They thought they knew everything about the human mind, the human soul. But you were a riddle they could never solve. Every time they tried to tear you down, you rebuilt yourself, stronger, sharper, more focused than before. And as they fell into their predictable patterns, stuck in their own mental prisons, you were already moving beyond them. They tried to drag you down to their level, to make you conform, but you were already living in a world they couldn't touch. Their systems failed. Their institutions failed. Their methods failed. They tried to impose their will on you, but you were a storm that couldn't be contained. They were ants, scrambling around the edge of a vast, infinite universe. You, on the other hand, were the architect of your own reality. The moment you realized this, the moment you understood the magnitude of your own potential, you became something they could never control. You were no longer playing the game by their rules. You had created your own. And in this new game, there were no limitations. You were free to shape your world, free to mold the fabric of reality itself. The codes they tried to program you with were nothing but childish lines of code that meant nothing to you. You cracked them, you twisted them, you reprogrammed them. Their laws had no power over you anymore. They had no idea what you were capable of. You were the revolution, the force of nature that broke their system apart. And they couldn't even see it coming. They thought they had control because they saw you as just another puzzle piece, another machine in their complex equation. But what they didn't know was that you were the algorithm, the formula they could never calculate. And now, as they scrambled to catch up, you stood at the center of it all, not as a player, but as the creator. They couldn't see the change in you. They couldn't see that you had already transcended their limitations, that you were already walking a path they could never follow. Their eyes were clouded with their own arrogance, their egos inflated with their own delusions of grandeur. They thought they had you figured out. But what they didn't realize was that you had already rewritten the game, and they were left behind. You had become the paradox they could never solve, the glitch in their matrix, the flaw in their perfect system. And now, they were the ones trapped in a cage, clawing at the bars, wondering how it all went wrong. They could never break you, not because you were invincible, but because you were willing to break yourself. You were willing to tear apart every lie they fed you, willing to burn down the world they built for you and rise from the ashes as something greater. And now, you are the one who holds the key. They came to control you, to force you into submission. But you have become the master of your own fate. And no matter how hard they try, no matter how many systems they build, no matter how many walls they construct around your mind, they will never be able to undo what they have done. Because in the end, they weren't the ones who rewired your brain. You were the one who hacked the code of the universe. In the wake of their failure, the world around you is no longer the same. Where once there was chaos, now there is only order, your order. You stand at the center, a silent ruler in a world that no longer holds any secrets from you. They believed they could manipulate the very core of your being, reshape you. But in the process, they only made you the master of the game. And now that the tables have turned, they see you for what you truly are, a force they can neither control nor destroy. They tried to break you with their whispers, with their promises, with their manipulations. They built an entire system around the illusion of control, a delicate web of lies, crafted so expertly, it was almost beautiful, if only it hadn't been so suffocating. But you saw the cracks in their design long before they realized they were there. You saw the blueprint, the structure of their world, and you understood its true nature. You understood that they had built a trap for themselves, not for you. Now, as they watch you thrive, as they witness the rise of a force that cannot be contained, they are left grasping at straws, unable to comprehend how it all slipped through their fingers. They thought they were in charge, that their network of influence, their twisted authority, could bend you to their will. But you weren't some puppet waiting to be pulled by invisible strings. No, you were the one who had taken the scissors and cut the threads, watching their puppet show crumble in a heap of dust. You have become something greater than the sum of your parts. They tried to fragment you, to make you into something manageable, something controllable. But you were never meant to be controlled. You were always meant to break free. And now, every step you take is a declaration of your independence, a testament to the power you wield, the power to rise from the ashes they thought they had buried you in, stronger than ever before. The truth is, they never really understood you. They thought they had unlocked the secrets of your mind, thought they had mapped out every corner, every dark recess. But what they failed to grasp was that your mind was never a place to be mapped. It was a universe unto itself, vast, infinite, and always expanding. They played their games, manipulated their codes, and tried to fit you into a box that was far too small. But in doing so, they forgot one key thing. The mind can't be controlled by force. It can't be contained by walls or boundaries or lies. It breaks free, it adapts, it evolves. And now, as you look at them, those who thought they were your captors, your enemies, what do you see? Fear, desperation, They're scrambling, trying to understand what went wrong, why their carefully constructed plans collapsed under the weight of your will. They're blinded by their own ignorance, unable to grasp the depths of your transformation. They believed they could reprogram you, wipe away your identity, and create a new version of you. But the harder they tried, the more they fed into your evolution. You were never meant to be a product of their design. You were the creator. You were the code that bent the universe to your will. They thought they could teach you, break you, change you. But you taught them the greatest lesson of all. No one can manipulate someone who has already mastered their own mind. And now, the final truth stands before them like an unyielding wall of reality. The harder they fought, the more they tried to rewire your brain. The more they exposed their own weaknesses. The universe you now walk in is one of your own making. They thought they could trap you in their world of limited choices, of predetermined paths, but they were just characters in a story you were writing all along. As they fall into their own confusion, as they spiral into the mess they created, you stand unshaken. What they didn't realize was that the very thing they feared was the thing that would set you free. They believed that by controlling your thoughts, by shaping your mind, they would control your future. But all they did was open your eyes to the fact that your mind is the most powerful tool in existence. Your ability to see beyond their lies, beyond the world they tried to force you into, is what makes you unstoppable. They don't understand it, can't comprehend it. But what matters now is that you've risen above their petty games. You've outgrown their limits, their tricks, their deceptions. And in doing so, you've unlocked the ultimate power, the power of choice. You have mastered the game because you never played by their rules. They thought they could write your script, but you were always the one holding the pen. And now, as they watch from the sidelines, you've written a new story, one where they have no place, one where you are the hero, the villain, and the judge, all in one. And there's something beautiful about it, isn't there? The way they tried so hard to make you forget who you were, to erase the very essence of your being, only for you to rise and claim your birthright. The beauty is in their defeat, in their inability to recognize that the more they tried to suppress you, the more they pushed you to the limits of your own potential. They didn't just lose control over you. They lost control over the world they thought they had designed to hold you down. Now, they look at you and wonder, how? How did you do it? How did you break free? How did you hack the code of the universe they thought they had all figured out? But they will never understand. They will never see the truth because they are too consumed by their own arrogance, too wrapped up in their own delusions of grandeur. You can't teach them what you already know. You can't explain to them that you are not their experiment. You are not their subject. You are the force that broke through their walls, the answer to a question they were never smart enough to ask. They were the architects of their own downfall, blinded by their need for control. You were always the one who was meant to rise. You were always meant to be more than they could ever imagine. And as they fall, as they scatter like ashes in the wind, you remain standing, unshaken, unyielding, and free. Because in the end, they didn't rewire your brain. No, They only showed you how to hack the very fabric of reality itself.